Hello everyone, my name is Lance90 and welcome back to my tutorial series on Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. So in the last video we could have covered what not to do in this game. So now we're going to cover how to make it easier but still have some kind of challenge to it, and how to actually survive for long term. So you want to go to options, and find a few things you can do to adjust the difficulty of the game. First, you might want to look at this category here in the debug menu. You have your distance initial visibility, which lets you see more of the map at the start. You have your initial points, that's the points used to assign your stats and your skills and things. Maximum skill points, and these are a little bit different than the initial points in that this just changes like how many points you can put into traits. They don't add actual new points. It still uses these kind of points. And then there's the skill rest. So two of the smaller changes that aren't quite so, I don't know, don't want to say cheaty, because it's here. But two of them that aren't such a big deal be to increase the distance of visibility to max 20, so you can see more. That's not really going to affect the gameplay a whole lot. So, that's just something to make it a little bit easier. Then the other thing I don't think is a big deal to change is the skill rest. Just turn this off. Now your skills won't degrade over time. So, with that, yeah, just as much as you train your skills, they're just going to stay where they are. They're never going to rust, decay. Not going to lose any skills that you actually have. Then you have the initial points and maximum trait points. So these are definitely more like cheating. But you can see the max is 1,000 on both of these. You don't have to bring it all the way to 1,000. You can change it just a little bit, and I feel like it makes it safe. Fun. In my opinion, 18 trait points gets me everything I need. Initial points, probably 30. That makes things pretty fair. It's not such a huge dramatic change that it's going to be God mode or anything, but it's going to help tremendously. Keeping those in mind, then you have to consider your other settings back here. As far as difficulty goes back here, the city size isn't going to really change too much because you need cities to get loot and stuff too. So making them smaller isn't going to really help you out in that regard. Spawn rate scaling factor, though, that's pretty a hard difficulty change there. It'll reduce the monsters. This, I feel like it should just be smaller just because it feels like it's too high right now. It doesn't really make the enemies themselves weaker, it just makes it so there's less of them. And you could leave it at 1 and perhaps turn on, classic zombies perhaps. But I don't want to disable, it says it's disable certain buildings if you do that. I don't want anything to get turned off other than just monsters if I did that. So I'm not going to do that. But if you wanted to keep it at 1, maybe change it to classic zombies, and then it'll kind of be fair and make sense. What I like to do is just the final change I make, bring this down to 5. 6 is probably would be more of a challenge for me personally. But I mean, since I'm saying it's a challenge for me and I'm pretty experienced with this game, kind of indicates the difficulty of the game. So as a new player, you might want to bring it to actually 5. You don't really need to change much else. Turn on the static NPC, just so you have a guy to run to. If for some reason there's like, I don't know, a zombie Hulk at the very start of the game. Usually it doesn't happen. Nothing like that usually happens, but in the experimental build, you don't really know what they're going to do. So, like one of the experimental builds I played, I went underground and there was a horde of giant ants immediately. So yeah, I needed the NPC's help for that. Yeah, but that should be it. That should be it. We haven't done too much. Turned on an NPC. Made this spawn factor 50% less, and gave us a little bit more points, but not really all that many more points. And we turned off skill rest. gave us a little bit more viewing distance, which doesn't really change much. So save it. I feel like that's a fair thing. You can always adjust that however you want. And now let's make a new custom character. So the mods to use, this I don't really know so much about, like what we want to change. Again, there's more difficulty options in here, so maybe leave the spawn rate the same and turn on mundane zombies. I don't know exactly what the difference between this and classic zombies are, though, necessarily. Maybe lower the spawn rate and make them fast. Maybe increase the spawn rate and turn on slow zombies or something. Prevent zombie revivification so you don't have to smash their bodies anymore. But we're just going to not do anything. Oh, one thing I should have mentioned. Oh yeah, there's also no monsters too. That'll get rid of all the monsters in the game though, so it'll just turn it into a crafting survival kind of game instead of zombie oriented game. But that could be fun too. I've never actually done that and I've thought about it before. Now, one thing I forgot to mention though is another reason that I just like to turn down the spawn rate as far as difficulty changing goes is just I want to get to the in-game content of this game. Because if you just keep dying and dying over and over, you're never going to get to the in-game content. It takes a while to get to the in-game stuff. Like, I still haven't really seen very much of it, and I have some series that go on to hours and hours and hours of gameplay. Still haven't found the in-game content, but it's there. I know it's there. So just increasing or lowering the difficulty just to make sure you can get to there helps. We're not going to change any of these mods, though, I don't think. A lot of them keep getting integrated into the base game, so you might see some stuff that says it's been integrated already. It looks like they might have already changed it so that those are gone. So that's interesting, but let's move on to world gen options. We already changed these, so we don't need to mess with those. Twin Lakes is the name of our world. Still going to do evacuee. This time, though, we're going to increase our stats by quite some degree. So strength, I'm just going to increase twice to 10. So it's a 90 HP, is a pretty round number. Carry weight, melee damage. Everything else, I'm going to bring it up high enough so that penalties go away. So dexterity, 12, no more penalty. Intelligence, though, is a little bit different because we've turned off skill rest, so this doesn't matter anymore. So technically it's at no penalty right now. But for the late game content, installing bionics and stuff, you need intelligence. So we'll bring it to 10, like strength. Still, I think 12 is considered like the normal stat, so I was thinking that might bring it to 100 health, but no. I think generally these should all be 12 to be normal. So I think even with 10, even with extra points assigned to these are still not quite up to par. That's fine. We'll bring it to 10. Perception, get rid of the penalty, bring it to 12. Okay, traits. So there's a lot of things you can do here, but there's a few given strategies that a lot of people do. I like to go over to the negative strats first. One of the ones I like a lot is addictive personality up at the top. Makes it so you become addicted to substances easier and it's harder to get rid of your addictions. Just don't do drugs and you won't have to deal with that. Drugs can speed you up and stuff, and I see people use that a lot. But we've already lowered the difficulty, so we're not really going to need to do drugs to increase our speed or something, so we're fine. Albino is bad. You'll take pain for being out in the sun. Don't take it. Animal discord makes it so animals attack you more. I don't think that would be too bad, but it'd be annoying. Asthmatic gives you 4 points, so it makes it sound like it's like a really negative thing. I found it's not the worst thing ever, because it starts you with an inhaler to treat your symptoms. Inhalers actually give you a boost of stats when you do it. But I've noticed that you can wake up in the middle of your sleep coughing or something, which means you might never be able to get well rested if you take this trait. So probably want to avoid this. I did take it one time though, and it wasn't too bad. Everything I'm just skipping is like super bad. Bad back makes it so you can carry 35% less weight. Weight's not as important as volume. It's still bad. This makes it so it takes, if you move on rough terrain, it'll impact you even worse. So that's a pretty bad one to take. Bad temper, we had that last time. It just makes your mood go down by 5 permanently. Wouldn't be too bad, but we're going to avoid it too. Chemical imbalance. This will make it so you'll randomly get hungry, sleepy, and tired at random. I don't know if it'll make you unhungry and unsleepy and stuff randomly, but I would avoid it. Clumsy makes you cause more noise and set off traps. Noise is bad. Not gonna pick that. Disorganized is 40% less volume. Never pick this. Pretend like this is like minus a billion points or something. This is like the worst trait that there can be here. I don't care what any of these other ones do. Do not pick this one. Never, 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 never. Volume is the best thing in the world. Don't take it. Farsighted. Now, a lot of people like farsighted or nearsighted. You start with glasses, so you don't actually get penalties to it. But now this might have been changed. But if you have glasses, or if you have farsighted or nearsighted, you cannot wear glasses when you're wearing powered armor. Yeah, no, I want powered armor. We're not doing that. I think usually people will just say, we'll just have bad sight, but no, I'm not going to do that. No, I refuse. Acquire more food. Food and water isn't actually too bad of a problem as long as you're in a relatively decent location. Just having to deal with it a lot is annoying, so you can take it, but just know that you're going to have to just deal with it more often. It's not hard to deal with it, it's just annoying. Flimsy makes you take, or gives you 25% less health, and you heal slower. Stacked with other things. Sometimes people pick these kind of things just to make the game harder. Forgetful. Now, this is normally one you'd avoid, but it just makes your skills erode slightly faster than usual. You've turned off skill rest, though. So this one is essentially free. It's not going to do anything. Fragile. Again, it's like flimsy, but even worse. Look, minus 8 points. But still, I consider it better than losing the volume. You want as much volume as you can get. It's not quite as bad as it used to be, but volume's still very important. We'll get into why later. Again, 50% less health and blah. Less health thing again. Blah. I'll probably avoid them. Hates fruit, hates vegetables. There's also another few hate things down here. Oh, they're intolerances, but they're pretty much the same thing. It makes it so you get angry if you eat these things. I think you can also get sick too. These are kind of tempting. Like first thinking about it, like fruit, fruit's not very common, is it? Actually, is pretty common, and it's like one of the only things you can use to improve your water supply. So something to drink permanently. You need fruit to make better juices and things. So you don't really want to take fruit penalty. You don't really want to take a vegetable penalty either. Here's one I like. Heavy sleeper. Makes it less likely noises will wake you up. Generally, you'll be trying to sleep in a really safe place anyway. Shouldn't matter. And, hey, it makes it harder to wake up, so you'll be more likely to sleep well. High thirst makes you need to drink more. You already need to drink pretty often. Again, water isn't actually that hard to get as long as there's like some kind of river nearby. But you just have to deal with it more. I don't like dealing with it so often. Hoarder is an interesting one, and it's something you can actually deal with to some degree. You suffer morale penalties if you aren't carrying max volume of loot. So that one's kind of manageable, because you always want to be carrying a lot of stuff, right? You want to pick up as many things as you can. But it does make organization and stuff harder. Obviously, if you have to go on a looting spree, you have to have an empty inventory to begin with, so no, let's avoid it. Illiterate, no, never pick that. Just pretend like it's an infinity negative points thing or something. This one is actually probably worse than the volume reducing one, because you're never going to touch in-game content if you take this, so don't do that. unless you really don't want to touch in-game content for some reason, but it's silly. Insomniac makes it hard to fall asleep. Sleeping is actually pretty hard, so I wouldn't take that. Jittery makes it so under moments of great stress or under the effects of stimulants, you may find your hands shaking uncontrollably. It's not the worst, but I do like being under effects of stimulants in this game. It boosts almost all your traits. Really good. So I would avoid it. Now, junk food intolerance. For a moment here, I thought this used to be a good one. Because the junk food in the game, for the most part, like chips and cookies and things, they actually don't give you any hunger satisfaction or anything. So it's like, oh, I should just get rid of this one. There's one caveat. It makes it so you can't drink soda anymore. It makes you get sick if you drink soda. And early game, it is actually hard to get water and stuff going because you need a fire and pots and pans and things to clean the water with. So picking this is actually very bad at the beginning of the game. Maybe late game you don't have to worry about it, but I'm just going to avoid that one like the plague. This one is another one of these food ones. I just avoid it. Lightweight is one I do take. It's nice. Again, it's just another one that makes it so drugs are worse for you. Makes it suffer negative effects of those for longer. Meat intolerance, yeah, you don't want to pick that. Your long-term food supply is going to be meat, because I don't think plants grow very fast in this game, so no, never pick meat intolerance. If you had to pick an intolerance, pick junk food, not meat. Mood swings. These are interesting. It'll make your mood go up and down at random. It's usually a really big, really large or really high penalty to penalty or boost to your mood. Since it can go both ways, yes, it can be positive mood swings. Thing is since you're going to be trending downwards negatively in traits or points, that focus thing is going to go lower. I still don't know how important focus is, but generally this is one I take. Because when you get happy, you do get really happy. And it's kind of a free point since it kind of balances out, you know. Pacifist and Deerside, again, that's one of the classes. Do not take it if you're going to wear power armor. Pacifist probably may combat skills advance much slower than usual, and you feel more guilt about killing. Probably don't want to take that. You're going to be killing all that killing. 4 hearing's one I take, because hearing is already not very precise. This just makes it even more imprecise, and hearing's not that important. As long as you have good sight, it doesn't matter. Savant makes it so you like gain one skill really well, and the other one's really bad. I would avoid this one. Schizophrenic, you'll periodically suffer from delusions, minor effects to hallucinations. This is probably a really bad idea to take. I haven't taken it myself, but I would avoid it. You'll notice that a lot of these medical conditions, it does say that they can be controlled through drugs and stuff, so you might want to keep that in mind, but drugs aren't that easy to find, so. Sleepy, I think this one's actually somewhat new, but I really like it because you actually don't get sleepy very often. So actually, I think this is really a good one. I like to get sleepy more often. Slow healer, slow learner, slow reader, slow runner. Slow runner, well, all 3 of these are probably really bad. Slow healer might not be so bad because it is pretty easy to treat things since you can start making bandages. But I'd still just avoid all 4 of them. Strong scent, no. Most of the time, if zombies don't directly see you, the thing they're chasing you by is scent, not sound. Scent is actually one of the worst things to have high scent. And I'll show you a scent map when we get into the game. It's not a default key that's assigned, but I can show you it. Yeah, just avoid it. Thin skins, cutting damage is increased for you. It's just another one of those health-related kind of things. Trigger happy is a great one. Just avoid guns, for the most part, if you're using this. Guns are kind of bad. They make a lot of noise in this game anyway. Unless the only reason to really use them is for really big enemies. For the small ones, just melee them. Or just use bows. But what this does is make it so if you have a weapon that can burst fire, it's going to burst fire sometimes. Big deal. Truth teller and ugly. These just make it so NPCs is harder to are difficult to interact with. We have NPCs pretty much turned off except for the static one, and the static one doesn't care. So yeah, turn those on. That's 3 free points. Here's one I like. I actually don't see many people take this, but it's actually great. Weak stomach. You only get sick from drinking alcohol or eating bad food, but it's pretty easy to just eat good food. So just eat good food and you're not going to get sick. Wool allergy and wheat allergy. And wheat allergy is another food one, and then wool is something for wearing clothes that are made out of wool. I'd avoid both of those like the plague. And we can go over to the bonus traits, or the good traits, I should say. Compass Sleeper makes it so your men fall asleep easily. That could help, but we're already sleepy and heavy sleeper. I think that kind of replaces the need for Accomplished Sleeper. Addiction resistant. You'll see the grayed out ones. This means we've taken the opposite trait on the other side, and vice versa. So addiction resistant makes it harder to get addicted to things. Animal empathy. I used to pick this one, but I found that even picking it, animals still attack me sometimes. So that doesn't work. That's what I'm just gonna say. It just doesn't work. It might make them a little bit less likely to attack, but it doesn't help enough. Cannibal. So I guess you can eat people and not take a penalty, but there's enough non-human flesh around that it's fine. Besides, you can't eat zombie flesh, and most of the enemies are zombies, so yeah, don't worry about it. Deft is pretty good. It doesn't make you any better at melee combat, but you're faster at recovering from a miss. I don't know what the exact numbers are on this, but I take it. Disease resistant makes it so less likely that you'll catch a cold or the flu or something. You can manage this with vitamins and staying warm and stuff. I wouldn't worry about it. Fast healer, fast learner, fast reader. These are pretty nice ones, but they're not the most critical on the list. Might come back to them if we have points left over. Spoiler alert, I don't think we will, because I kind of know which ones I'm going to take. Fleet-footed is great. 15% speed bonus on sure footing. Normally your speed is 100 anyway, so this will boost your speed, as long as the ground is flat and stuff. And we have stats we can't do, things we can't do. You can kind of deduce what their negative traits, negative counterparts are. Gourmand makes it so you can eat and drink more. Makes it better for your morale, and you won't get sick quite as much. Or you won't take penalties from not tasty meals as much. Why do you want to eat more food? I don't want to save as much food as you can, so I wouldn't take that. Adrenaline, if you're in a very dangerous situation, you may temporarily receive a boost to your speed and strength. That could be good. It's kind of expensive, though, so I'm going to avoid it for now. Inconspicuous. While you're sleeping or standing still, is less likely that monsters will wander close to you. Usually take this one. I think that essentially it just makes it so when you're standing still and they can't really see you, your sense map will go a lot smaller. Again, I'll show that in a minute when we get into the game. But yeah, that's probably a good one to pick. This one is infection resistant. Your immune system is good at resisting infections. As long as you get med kits and disinfectant and stuff, you shouldn't have trouble with infections. So we're going to avoid that. Light eater means you require less food. Again, food isn't really a problem. This will just make it so it's not quite as annoying. But it's 3 points, so I'm not going to take it. Light step. Make less noise while walking. Less likely to set off traps. Yes, please. Less noise. I like the stealth thing. Really like the stealth traits. They're great. Martial arts training. You can do that if you want. I don't think it's necessary. Mass assist makes it so if you take pain, it actually makes you happier. That could be useful, but nah. Melee weapon training. This one's, I think, is a little bit newer. I don't really know what these... I know what fencing is, but I don't know what the other two are, so let's just avoid it. Night vision. This one you could give or take. I turn it on because I'm a Let's Player. You guys need to be able to see stuff when it's nighttime. So, otherwise you're looking at a 3x3 square in the middle of the screen. This makes it so it's a 5x5? 4x4 screw. It's a little bit bigger. Just good if you're Let's playing. And it's helpful if you're not, but it's not quite as necessarily otherwise. Optimist makes it so you get a permanent +5 boost to your morale. This stacks really well with Pessimist. Not Pessimist. Pessimist is the opposite. It stacks well with mood swings. It means so that you'll generally be swinging in favor of positive stats. Like I said, the mood swings are dramatic. Optimist is only +5. Mood swings are like plus or minus like 75. Still, it'll kind of offset that a little bit. Outdoorsman, so you take reduced morale penalties for being wet. So as long as you have good clothes, you're not going to worry about the wet too much. Pack Mule is great. 40% more volume. More volume. Volume is the best. We'll get into more details, like exactly how Pack Mule plays into some stats, but just take it. It's good. Pain resistance makes your pain tolerance higher. It's not too bad. No, not too important. Parkour experts. So counters and railings. If you remember, watch the last episode. Talked about the windowsills and counters and stuff were making it so the zombies had to take like twice as long to do things. This makes it so it's just like normal ground to you. There's not too much terrain that is like this though. It's mostly just flat, so no, it's good, but I don't take it. Your system is rather tolerant of poisons and toxins. Could be useful, but I'm not going to take it. Pretty is the opposite of ugly. Not important. Psychopath. Even when your actions are wrong, you just don't care. So the only thing I've seen that gives you guilt in this game is killing the zombie child. So I guess that makes it so you don't get negative traits or negative opinion for killing the zombie childs. But they're not the most common spawn in the game, so I'm not going to worry about it. You're just generally quick. You get a 10% bonus to action points. So you can do more, or be faster in everything you do per turn. It's only 10%, but 10% of a base speed of 100 is 10. Why not? A helpful thing. Robust genetics is kind of nice if you want to play a game where you're trying to get genetic changes. This makes it so if you mutate, it'll be more likely that it'll be a good mutation and not a bad one. And I've seen it gets kind of interesting. I'm kind of tempted to do this at some point, but for a normal game, you might not want to do that. Scout is a newer one. It makes it so you can see further on the overmap, but just walk a little bit more. It doesn't matter too much. You can also get binoculars. That'll help too. Self-aware makes it see your exact HP remaining. In my opinion, I'd rather just have the vague idea. This feels a lot better. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I don't like knowing exactly what I have. It used to be that you were always self-aware. Negative trait was make it so you couldn't know what your exact health was, but now they've changed it. Self-defense classes are another like martial arts kind of thing. I'm not going to worry about it. Shaolin Adept, another martial arts kind of thing. Skilled learning, see more things that are grayed out. Strong back increases your maximum weight capacity. Weight is not nearly as important as volume, just don't worry about it. Stylish is another NPC kind of thing. Or no, this one just makes it so your morale is improved by wearing nice clothes. But, why? Terrifying makes it so monsters are more likely to flee. Again, this is something I never really noticed them even doing. So, no, I don't think this one works properly. Even if it does, you don't really want to scare away like animals and things. You want to be able to get close to them so you can kill them easier. Thick skin makes cutting damage go down. Not terribly important. Tough makes you have 20% more bonus hit points. These two are nice, but better things to spin things on. A feet, no movement penalty for wearing no shoes. I don't even know why you would not wear shoes in this game. No. And another fighting kind of thing. And weak scent. This was the last one I'm picking here. Makes it so So animals that track your scent will do so with more difficulty. I don't think that's exactly correct. What it does is just reduces your scent map. So we're taking that. Like I said, if they can't see you, scent is what they're finding you by, not really sound. But sound's important. You can made it so we pretty much don't make any sound either. So our build is kind of stealth, speed, carrying capacity, pretty much. And then our negative traits are pretty much don't do drugs. We get tired a lot more. Sleep hard. Don't interact with NPCs. Don't fire guns that can burst fire. Don't eat bad food. These are the best traits to pick in my opinion. Let's move on. Profession. So there are some stuff in here that are like good and don't cost any points. Like backpacker. You start with a backpack. That's incredible. Backpacks aren't that easy to find. And have to have one. 0 points. That used to be this way with these professions. There was only a few of them before, and they'd all make it harder. Now it doesn't matter so much. One change that recently happened, and we talked about this in the last episode a little bit, is that now the game starts. They've implemented nuclear winter, so it's really cold at the start of the game now. So some of these, like shower victim, before it used to be like, you could probably do that. That'd kind of be fun. Now it's so cold that no, don't do that. That'd be a very bad idea. Don't do it. It's not even worth 1 point. It's worth should be worth 10 points or something. It's bad. What I like to do is I just like to start as a survivor. I like to build up to things. I don't want to start as a bionic prepper. Something I want to get to there eventually through work. I like progression in my games, so we're doing survivor. You can look through all these if you want. I'm not going to talk about them. It just changes your starting gear and starting skills. Skills. So we have archery. Makes it so you're better with bows and arrows, and makes it so you can make more bows and arrows and crossbows. Farming makes it so you can work with NPCs or trade with NPCs better, but mostly going to not be working with the NPCs is not very important. Bashing weapons. I like bashing weapons. They don't get stuck in the enemies. Cutting weapons can get stuck in the enemy. So bashing weapons are pretty nice. Computer skill, you'll want to do that. Pretty much all the computers in the game have security. So if you want to interact with the computers, which you need for in-game content, you're going to have to get this skill up. There are a lot of books for these, though. So you can get this trained up with the books if you want. Instruction is... Instruction. I'll just have to show you the list in-game. Generally, this is easier to level up than... I don't know how to really explain it. This is like set structures on map, as opposed to crafting, which just gives you like items and stuff. Cooking makes it so you can cook food, cook better food, cook more food. Bashing weapons is the opposite of bashing weapons. They do a lot more damage. They do get stuck. They also do more piercing to things that are stronger. Dodging makes it so you don't get hit as often. It's pretty good. Dodging and the melee attack weapons, or melee attack stats, these level up pretty fast. But also you kind of still want points in it. Driving. The book that increases the skill is pretty important. All it does is just make it so you don't cause as many issues when you're driving. Electronics makes it so it's easier to install electrical implants and work with electronic stuff. Fabrication is like your primary crafting skill. First aid makes it so you heal more with what you have, and it'll make it so you can craft more of the healing stuff. It's a pretty good stat. Handguns, pretty self-explanatory, makes you better with handguns. Launchers, pretty self-explanatory, makes you better with launchers. Marksmanship is a general ranged weapon enhancing trait. It works for both bows and guns and everything. Mechanics is great. This is really important. You can use it for bionics, but you could also use it for vehicles. It's mainly used for vehicles. Melee is just the general melee stat bonus. Piercing weapons, I think, are kind of new. They're not quite as new as some of the other things we've been talking about. They're still new. You don't really see um, piercing weapon traits on many items yet. But, you can do it with these if you want. Rifles, shotguns, self-explanatory. Speaking makes it so you can interact with NPCs better, so it's a good trait to not touch. So you have NPCs on, but keep them off for the most part. Machine gun, self-explanatory. Survival. It gives you some variety of things you can craft, but it's not the most important crafting trait. Swimming, I've never really found a need to swim, so I don't even put any points in it. Tailoring is incredible. It sounds like a thing that you're like, why would you want tailoring? It's super important, and because of the nuclear winter, it's like incredibly more important than ever right now. It's like the best trait right now, I'd have to say. 10 out of 10, best trait. Throwing, and generally throwing is not a very effective way of killing things, so I would avoid that one mostly. And there's even throwing books, so yeah, don't worry about it. Trapping, I've never really had a need to build traps in this game. There's pretty secure places to have your shelter at, and hunting is pretty easy too, so I don't see a need for trapping. Unarmed combat, I'm going to play a character who uses weapons. You could make a pretty good hand-to-hand combat kind of person, but the thing you'd have to worry about is picking things up into your fist all the time when you're looting stuff, so it's just better to have a weapon in your hands. So what's the best distribution of points? Well, there's two that I've recently discovered. You really need to get these skills to a certain point. Mechanics level 4 and tailoring level 4. Tailoring level 4 unlocks all sorts of things that clothes you can craft and stuff. Particularly, it's high enough to craft a backpack. So we can do that right at the start. Show you how. Mechanics is high enough mechanics to do any repairs to a car you need for the most part. And mechanics books, I haven't been finding them very often, so I think these are both good ones to get up. There's not really very many books for them, and there's not really super common stuff to increase them, so they're good. First aid, I'd bring to level 3. This is high enough to be able to craft first aid kits. Any 1 point you put in these traits gives you 2 points in the trait. So the first point putting into these is actually pretty good because it gives you 2 points in actuality. But that'll make it so you can make bandages and stuff. But if you're into 3, you can make first aid kits. First aid kits restore more health, but more importantly, they can treat infections. Now, let's see. Now we're to a little bit more expendable points. I like to have archery at 3 now, but we might take that 3rd point off. That should be enough to make a longbow. Maybe just a short bow. I think 2 is enough to get a self bow, 3 is enough for a short bow, 4 might be enough for the longbow. We'll put it at 3. Bashing weapons, I want to take 1 point into that. Bashing weapons I really like. I put 1 point into cooking just to give me some options. 1 point into the construction so I can construct things. 1 point to dodging, so I'm a little bit better at combat. 1 point to marksmanship, so I'm a little bit better with my bow. We're going to mostly use a bow and arrow. My intention. Fabrication, just to open up more crafting things. I haven't been able to put a point into melee, so yeah, I'm going to take 1 point off of archery. Hopefully 2 is enough for a short bow, at least. And we'll put 1 into melee. So this is my build. I really recommend this build. But, there's better, you can spend things however you want. You might have just given yourself more points to start with, and you can do whatever you want, but this I feel is pretty fair. Okay, so now we can make a name. I'm just going to randomly generate something until it seems decent. The asterisk key. Back the colon. Extra black one. I guess that'll work. And we can press the is that backslash or forward slash? I never really memorized that. press the slash key that says lair and select your starting place. So anything in town is probably a pretty bad idea. Banks are in town. No, it'll be easier just to go over what's not in town. Cabins aren't in town. LMOE shelters are not in town. And shelters are not in town. So those are really the three you want to look at. I'm actually kind of surprised that LMOE shelters are even on this list, because they're extremely good. They have a bed in them already, they have a lot of supplies stored inside them, they're underground, they're disguised. They're very nice, so the fact it's on this list I think is pretty weird. I think they might remove it at some point, but I could be wrong. But it's there. If you want to pick the easiest starting place, I'd pick that. Disclaimer, I haven't done this recently. Maybe they make it so there's a zombie Hulk or something spawning in there. That's why it's even available on the list. These will also spawn really out deep in the middle of nowhere. Cabins usually spawn in forests. Now these do have a few regular zombies in them, but they usually don't have anything crazy. But they have beds and they have a wood stove. Those things are great. Shelters are some way out of town, but they're still kind of close to town, so they're good for looting distance. And this is also the default spawn spot. It has a computer in it that has light, so you can always read by the computer screen if you want, or craft by the computer screen. And that's the NPC will spawn no matter where we're at. What else is there? There's an underground area in it that you can. There's usually some kind of loot in there. There can be bad things in there now. There used to never be a bad thing down there, but sometimes there's bad things. We're gonna pick the shelter, and we will move on to the game. We're out of time for this video, so we'll actually start playing in the next one. I hope you all enjoyed, and have a good day.